are dressed for the occasion, except Ross.
This is
you
the
let
aging
the
rock star
slide
look.
down,
Exactly.
Ross. Honestly.
So that's
Yes.
I was suggesting to actually come up on a stage on a barefoot, so that's
This is the aging rock star look.
Your spinal tap too, right? But Gareth, it's wonderful to have you back. Welcome back to the WiT stage after more than a decade ago.
Yes,
Was
it's been a while.
Was it more than a decade?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me how I haven't changed.
I said that yesterday.
But how does it feel to be back? How does it feel to be back in Asia?
It's fantastic to come back after the time. I'm a different person, see things with new eyes. I think it feels very similar to when I first come, the exciting thing of expanding out of Europe, kind of trying to bring a new concept to the market, and it feels very similar, obviously, with AI now. So it's kind of partly the same, but also very different.
Yeah, we'll get more into all that, right? But yesterday, I thought it was, at the boot camp, it was interesting what you said, right? That the idea of Skyscanner was almost like idea 50-52, right? When the three of you, when you and your co-founders were sitting around and saying, we have to do something together, we don't know what, but we really want to do something together. And the idea of Skyscanner was like idea number 52, and it came just because you had built a code to find the best prices for your personal ski holiday.
Yeah.
So why do you think that idea worked then? And because you got customer adoption and you got repeat customers really quickly.
Well, it didn't seem quick at the time. Often startup advice is don't build the tool for you, build it for others. But for us, it really was. Our use case demonstrated the need to have all the information in one place. And I think that kind of applies now as well. Unless you're coming from a travel insider point of view and you know the technology landscape, and that's going to throw you off course, you need to build something you have faith is going to work.
Right, and perhaps it worked too because Meta had the traveler's interest at heart. Like your objective was pleasing the traveler and not pleasing the supplier, to put it simply.
I think the way that we looked at it was the airlines deserve the respect. They're putting atoms up in the air, and the traveler deserved the most respect. It was very user-centric, and then that guided decisions as you basically came to learn what the landscape was, which you've got no idea at the beginning.
So we talked about why Meta works well in some markets and why it doesn't. And Ross, for example, you started Wego here, Meta Search Southeast Asia. You pivoted to the Middle East rather than switch models back then. Unlike Traveloka, which pivoted from Meta to OTA like quite early in their journey. Would you say Wego now is more OTA than Meta in where you're operating in the Middle East now?
Actually, it's pretty balanced. So we still run a very active Meta or marketplace, as we call it, but the fastest part of the business that's grown the fastest is the OTA side.
So the OTA side is the fastest growing. I was hearing comments that people were saying, "Oh, Ross is doing the right thing, that you have gone more OTA and therefore you own the customer a lot more than a Meta model."
Yeah, so we think they work quite nicely side by side. So we think of it a bit like Amazon or Alibaba, right? So they're big, vibrant marketplaces, but Ali and Amazon are the biggest sellers in their own marketplace, and they give users the choice of who they're going to book with. And I also think, like, if we think forward to a world of agentic agents taking care of more of our travel, we want to be good at shopping and search, but we also want to be great at booking and post-booking and in-trip. And I think by being able to help the user all the way through the journey, we can add more value.
Right. And Gareth, would you agree with him? Do you think he should double down on the OTA side and just forget the search side? Well, because during Skyscanner, you wanted to go into facilitated booking, if I remember, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. There's several really big things that need solving in online travel. And I think each company needs to decide what they're specializing in. So, I mean, I'd probably have to wear a suit if I was going more OTA. But I think it's open. It's an open question, and the discovery is as big, and getting the accurate information is as big a challenge as taking people through and supporting them right at the end. I think the big problem that we had was none of us thought of it as a social endeavor. I think it's still kind of strange that we designed our sites for one person to use, and we didn't express the fact that people are traveling with people. And one of the great lessons of scaling and networking is you need a user get user. And I don't think any of us cracked that. So I'd call out that as the third dimension. It's on a separate dimension there.
Okay. Okay, I mean, TRAVEL.jp, you were really first into the game. You know, it's also had to evolve. What do you think the biggest risk that you've had to take, you know, to ensure it stayed relevant in Japan?
That's a really good question. So, you know, over the course of the last 25 years, oh my God, you know, so we did a lot of stuff to kind of transform ourselves, right? So we actually started with the getting into the content space, you know, to become an online publisher. Then we did the financially, we did the leverage buyout, and we also did the acquisition of a 3.1. So all the things, and then TMC space, we also came in the middle of the COVID.
Right.
So we try to actually do everything to stay relevant, but I think it's probably the biggest risk we took was the selling a big chunk of our shares to Line, you know, the mobile
to the
app
messaging
platform,
app, yeah.
you know, before the COVID. And we basically made a full bet on Line app, which actually didn't go last long, unfortunately. But that was actually the big decision for us to, you know, pretty much like forgetting about the web, but just go straight into the to the Line app. So
right. So you took a bet on the Line app because they had the customers, and you thought you could build something with them. Okay. All right. So clearly, still trying to find your space.
Yeah,
in
exactly. That's a good question. So well, now I'm strongly feeling that you know, we really need to update something. We need to actually transform our business because, you know, I would have to say the meta is almost broken. So, so I think it's, you know, it is a time for us to actually to bring in big changes to our businesses.
Right. So, you know, so let's address the competition and threats, right? For years, I mean, some people have said that Google would crush Meta. So it hasn't really happened, but could it happen now, right? Is Google still the enemy? Is Meta massively challenged in the age of AI? Gareth.
Yes, go.
I mean, would you start a Skyscanner today?
I think the same principles apply, which is what is best for the traveler, and the product design might change, but I think every meta is addressing that in their own way. So I think the same principles apply. I think in terms of Google and Meta, I kind of view them as I said this yesterday, great profit extraction engines of the rest of the world. So I think there are incentives for hotels and many to have multiple partners. And then there's the question of focus. But they've got huge power, and it's because they've done things right. And they're outside of travel, so they've got daily use cases. And that's a massive power in online travel, which most travel companies don't have. So you don't have the frequency. You know, you get a loyal customer, they might come back next year. I see that as the biggest problem facing online travel companies.
Right. Okay, Ross, you want to add?
Let me actually add on Google. So I have a lot of thoughts on Google. First of all, I think it's a dependency on a Google for meta searches is real. It's huge. It's actually much bigger than many other players in the world in this space, like OTA included. because the Meta is we can actually take only a small size of slice, right? Because we make money out of OTAs transactions, and OTAs actually makes like 15-20% of the margin. We get only maybe a few percent. So that means we have a limitation to make an investment on user acquisition by spending money on advertisement. So it means I think the free traffic is so important.
Right.
Right. So we feel that Google is like a little bit like President Trump. It's a superpower. Whether you like him or not, you really have to depend on. It's like a Canada or Mexico. They can't live without the U.S. economy, right? So it's and then if he doesn't like us, you're screwed. So that's the real situation for Meta, I think.
All right. I was hoping that name wouldn't come up at the conference, but never mind. Ross.
But I think Google's done a better job on hotels than flights. Like they're a far more important player on the hotel side than flights. But I think on hotel side these days, most of the value is actually being created on the OTA side. It's a much more difficult problem. So from an aggregation theory point of view, that's where the value is really being added. But yeah, I mean,
anyway, it sounds to me like
engine for the industry. Yes, it's very true.
It sounds to me like Meta is in a very fragile stage and even more challenged right now. So, but Gareth, I want to bring the conversation back to Asia, right? And because yesterday you said that WiT, I think you came to the second one, 2006. I remember it was your first business trip to Asia.
Yeah.
Right. So, what were your impressions from that event that stayed on that convinced you maybe that Skyscanner's future was in Asia back then?
Yeah, it was a couple of reasons. And we've kind of grown up together, haven't we? But one of them was that there wasn't, North America is dominated by the United States. And that market in flights is dominated by a small number of airlines. Whereas the exciting prospect was lots and lots of fractured markets. And if we'd developed the ability to serve many languages throughout Europe and networks that were connecting different countries with airlines that people only knew their home airlines. So it made a lot more sense to come to Asia. And that really worked for us because we fanatically cared about coverage. So every time a new airline started up, we wanted to get all the routes on there. And if we got a few users going out to, say, Vietnam, then we had the coverage because we needed it for the people who were traveling from Singapore.
Right.
And that automatically opened up a potential market for users in Vietnam.
Yeah. But, everybody comes in and they recognize the opportunity, they get excited, they say it's fragmented and all that. But, I did an interview with you in 2015, and you said in that interview, to win, we have to win in Asia. Yep. And you said to do that, one, you had to build local product for markets such as China, Japan, India, and Singapore. Two, you had to build out a global platforms. And three, you wanted to create the best software building company at scale that we can possibly be. That's what you said. And that's what you looked like in 2015, by the way. So clearly your bet paid off because you were acquired by Ctrip in a deal valued at 1.7.5 billion. So of the three things you said you had to do, which was the hardest? Which was the hardest to pull off? Was it to build local? Was it to...
I'd say building the best technology company you can is the hardest because it's about teams working together. And the way you go about that has changed over the years. I still remember the very first version. I remember me and my brother were editing the same live file, and we thought, okay, time for version control. But the technologies have, and I think it's still a problem, even with the vibe coding approach, it's still garbage in, garbage out. So you still got to set it up really, really well. And it can work for you. And it should work for you. But you've got to have the skills to actually organize things really, really well. And that requires a great analytical mind and creative thinking about new solutions.
All right, Ross, could you have taken some lessons from Skyscanner about building out in Southeast Asia? Like, in that time, what were you thinking, like, what was Skyscanner doing right, do you think?
Well, I think key thing Skyscanner had that I wish we'd had in retrospect was like a really profitable sort of core market that we could use to subsidize the emerging markets.
Yeah.
It's a big problem. Like when we started off with Southeast Asia as a focus, we were looking at it. I think we built a great product. We just didn't build a great business initially, and there was some fundamental problems with the market, right? So travel frequency was very low, basket sizes were low, and there wasn't enough aggregators, there wasn't enough OTAs operating at scale to really make the marketplace work. So we've done a great job, connecting all the airlines and the hotel chains, but there really wasn't much of a business model. It took 10 years for that to really play out.
Right.
Hence the pivot to the Middle East, where there was a lot more players in the market, and we could add more value more quickly.
Yeah.
But I think Skyscanner did an awesome job. They built one of the few truly global platforms in our industry, which I think is awesome.
Right. And Kay, Japan market, you're still in Japan. Is there any possibility of taking that TRAVEL.jp model outside Japan, or is it purely a local play?
Well, we practically actually did already get out of Japan by starting up a 3.1. 3.1 is a meta search, but using content. So I feel no stranger in other markets too. But I think it's think about the meta, what's a successful factor, right? What have to happen when meta has to be meta
to
becomes
succeed.
Successful? It's definitely the timing. Timing is definitely a big issue. I think it's back in the days, the industry was definitely more fragmented, right? And the idea of meta was still new. Of course, Google travel search was not there. And then, you need, you want to actually see the one big market, right? The kayak, the US market for the kayak and the European market for Skyscanner. And Japanese market was very big for us too. So there are certain conditions have to be met when, then now I think it's fast forward, everything's changed. So I don't see any of those conditions available now. However, though, I think it's, in this coming era of AI, Meta has a significant chance to actually turn around. Because, imagine why the Google actually came into the travel vertical search. Because, they want to actually basically dominate the user's intentions, right? Not just the general search, but also they want to actually go deeper into the vertical. And the same thing could happen in other AI platforms such as ChatGPT or Perplexity. I think that's going to be the case. I don't think for example, ChatGPT is actually going to team up with one OTA.
Yeah, they're doing partnerships with everyone,
exactly.
Right? This morning, I think Expedia announced partnership with Perplexity, I think OpenAI as well.
And, basically the AI platform is actually the media, right? So they have to be neutral. And then meta search is also neutral. So it has a little bit, a lot of, the common rooms to work with, so.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to cast your mind back again to 2015, Gareth. And I asked you at that time how you saw Skyscanner 10 years from then. And that's today, actually.
Yeah.
All right, so today, and you said that it will be much more than a meta search or a price comparison company. Our use of AI, machine learning, the degree to which we do itinerary, route construction, and fare processing.
Wow.
The greatest external perceived change will be like being parts of being a personal travel assistant. It will assist you to move in physical time and space rather than a single booking or utility. I mean, you said that 10 years ago.
Wow.
What do you think? That's so prescient, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
words are cheap. It's a hard,
he sounded really smart.
it's very hard to achieve.
Yeah.
But I heard that now, in your free time, with all the money that you have, what did you do right after exit, by the way? What was the first thing you bought?
First thing I bought. What did I? I've got no idea, but it must have been from Amazon because COVID hit.
Anyway, I heard that even then you were actually building a Facebook chatbot or something at Skyscanner. Even then, right?
Yeah.
You were trying to build that. Okay, all right.
Yeah, and I do think the itinerary hasn't been solved yet in terms of it not being a complicated form. And AI offers the prospect of being able to answer any question about what you're doing. And I think business travel is really interesting because everybody should have a personal business travel assistant. And I always thought the problem with the business travel market is that the customer is not the traveler. The customer is the finance department. And therefore, they're very good at producing spreadsheets. But the actual thing they're trying to solve is actually what every traveler needs, which is to be able to ad hoc ask, what time should I get to the airport or whatever.
Right, so there's that opportunity in that business travel which you are in, right? Okay, so now let's move on the conversation to entrepreneurship, right? Because in Barry Diller's book, by the way, it's a great book, and it's called Who Knew? Who Knew? He spoke of a pivotal moment in his life when he was age 49, when he realized either you are or you aren't. Either you are a principal owner of a business versus a hired hand. So all of you are entrepreneurs, right? You've all made the leap and thrived, right? So Fritz says he's all on tours and activities with Get Your Guide. And then he has a family fund, Queen's Road Capital. Kay, you started Trip 101. You are also an investor, right? Ross, you are also an investor. And Gareth, you've kind of stayed tuned in, right? So what are the next opportunities that you guys are looking at, like to invest in, or what are the next big opportunities?
I'm waiting for somebody to help solve B2B travel payments.
B2B
so
travel
I think a lot
payments.
of the work that's going on in stablecoins and bringing them out of the regulatory gray, I think will quickly find its way into the travel industry. So take a lot of the friction out, take the banks out of the out of the process. So that I think that's sort of like a 12, 18-month problem in our industry, which is going to get solved fairly quickly.
Okay, so B2B travel payments. All right. Okay. Okay.
I think it's, I took this approach by thinking about the changes of user behavior, the traveler's behavior. What I strongly feel is that people actually have a more reason to travel, very specific reason to travel. Sometimes it's actually like watching Taylor Swift concert, or, for me, I really wanted to actually travel to powder snowboarding or so. So people have more reasons. I think it's that those are theme-based travel. I think that's a huge area, and then it keeps growing.
Okay.
And then I want to actually do something about it. So we actually just experiment by launching a new website. It's called historicstates101.com, basically for the history lovers. Those people actually who wanted to actually stay at some 100 years old ryokan or 200 years old castle in France or so.
Nice.
And then really kind of being soaked into the history.
Yeah, like time travel to the past. Okay, Gareth. I mean, you said that you didn't buy a lot, but I heard from the grapevine that after exit you bought a piece of land in Scotland. Mm-hmm. You planted 40,000 trees.
Yeah.
And then you got into motor racing.
Yes.
How cliche can you get?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hate being a conventional ex-tech founder and following every single one of those paths, yes. But they're hugely enjoyable. I've also gone sort of back to my roots of coding. I enjoy that. So I went to Manchester Uni in the late 80s, time of Stone Roses and that sort of thing. So I didn't really learn much from my maths and computing degree. So I've kind of informally redone that. And so I'm using ChatGPT and Claude to learn all the maths. And I'm really interested in language still, how it works. So working on neurosymbolic AI.
Wow.
So you're building your own AI agent, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I think we need an intellectual firewall, just like we have technology firewalls, unless we want our opinions entirely guided by governments and big companies. And that's kind of an interesting area for me.
Okay, all right. So if the three of you were to do a startup right now, what would it be? If the three would, Gareth, yesterday you said pick your co-founders carefully. Would you pick any of these two?
Absolutely, we've got on really well over the years. There was a bit of competition, but there was a big element of shared sort of background of ideas and facing shared challenges. I think in terms of startup, I'd pick something more frequent. We really cared about the repeat visitor. Repeat visitor was our top metric, but it's frustrating having to wait a year for some people to come back. So having said that, once you get a lot of users, it's not going to be overnight. You can respond to mistakes that you've made.
Right, so it sounds to me like the three of you should lock yourself in a room now and just throw ideas, and then next year come and announce your new venture. Okay?
Yeah. It'll be vibe coded by the afternoon, so we'll launch it.
All right. So in becoming founders, was there a particular skill that you had to really work on yourself because you were uncomfortable with it that you had to overcome? Was there a particular quality or skill that you had to overcome to become a founder, a leader? Okay.
There are quite a few things I'm not good at, and I try my best to be good at. And one of them is small things, but maybe not small things. Social media marketing.
Okay.
Right. I'm probably too old. Right. If I actually make a post, I really have to I have to do it. Right.
Okay.
So that's the one thing.
Okay.
And then I think it's the other thing is actually, so I think it's that every successful entrepreneur has to have a charm.
Charm. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's very important, right? If you see the Barry Deere or, Son Masayoshi, whoever it is, they have a really nice, charming smiles and everything. So, and
I wonder if you're born with it or can you sort of grow charm, But anyway, that's a thought. But what about you? What about you, Gareth?
I think I really admire the entrepreneurs that do it from a base of joy and charm. My experience is doing it from a base of psychological maladjustment and achieving peace with yourself. And I'd be far too soft to do the journey now.
Yeah.
Ross?
I mean, I've had to learn a lot of things and still learning. I mean, my happy place is messing around with tech and building stuff. I'm a product guy by training. So learning all the other stuff. So, hiring, selling, pitching.
Okay.
Lots of things, yeah.
Anything that involves facing people, I think.
Pretty much.
All right, okay, let's do a rapid fire. One word to describe your meta journey.
Heavy, but rock and roll.
Heavy, but rock and roll.
Learning the value of teams.
Okay.
Bit of a cliche, but it's not a one-person thing.
Twisted.
Twisted, okay. Anything you tell your 27-year-old self?
Don't be overconfident.
Okay.
It's about persistence, not smarts.
Buy Bitcoin when they first come out.
In one word, travel in 2045 will be?
The world's biggest industry.
Yeah. One word.
In a scenario where AI brings us somewhere towards abundance, I think travel is going to be a much, much bigger part of everybody's life than it is today.
Okay.
Combined with leisure.
Pardon?
Well, combined with a wider leisure, most of your time is leisure.
All right. Please join me in thanking our charming, our joyful, our persistent meta pioneers, Ross, Gareth, and Kay. Thank you. Thank you.